In the last stream, we were working on finally upgrading our old centrifuges to these new, larger multi-block centrifuges capable of processing 3 honeycombs at a time and doing it much faster than our pre-existing centrifuges. We also, of course, got our first power reactor capable of producing, right now, I think, up to 12,000 redstone flux per tick, with room to upgrade it to a higher tier reactor in the near future should we need even more power. But the very first thing that I would like to work on in today's stream is upgrading the efficiency of these centrifuges, because right now we're still not really keeping up with production. We're still producing the honeycombs faster than we're processing them, and the reason for that is that we have yet to harness one of the key features of the multi-block centrifuge over the smaller centrifuge, and that is that the multi-block centrifuge can actually process blocks of honeycomb as opposed to just individual honeycombs. You'll see if I take these 51 blocks of wither skeleton honeycomb, it is slower, but it's not 9 times slower, and you do get 9 times the output. It effectively does 9 honeycombs at once, and it does it in about a third of the time that it would normally take to do 9 honeycombs. And so, if we want to start clearing this backlog here, and if we want to add a third apiary to the setup, we're going to have to start processing the combs faster. Of course, we could look at upgrading to the higher tier centrifuge. Right now, I think that's a little bit further down the road for us just because of how much netherite we need. I do keep putting more ancient debris into the furnaces, so we are slowly but surely getting there on the netherite scrap, but we still don't quite have enough to upgrade to just one of the elite centrifuges, never mind 3 of them. And so, for the time being, initially what I want to do here is I want to set up a system that turns all of our honeycombs into honeycomb blocks and then sends them over to the centrifuges. To do that, what we're going to do is we're going to get another draw controller because we're going to use a big old wall of compacting drawers to do this automatically. Because much like with all of the stuff that we have on our back wall here, if we put any honeycombs into a compacting drawer, it will become available in both comb form and block form. And what we should then be able to do is use this modular router here to pull exclusively the blocks of honeycomb over from the drawer controller to the centrifuges. So right now we have got 9 bees in here, 9 bees in here, and then if we set up a third apiary, we've got a total maximum of 27 different kinds of honeycomb that we're going to be processing. And so ideally here, we're going to want to get 27 compacting drawers. Thankfully, between streams, I did go ahead and acquire all of the items required to make this happen. It's mostly just iron and redstone for the pistons, and then just wood and stone for the drawers and the compacting drawers. And so if we take 27 of these, we can then place them down up at the top of our little apiary setup here and designate one for each and every one of the honeycombs. And then instead of having all of the combs go up to this modular router, we're going to want to get a different modular router that pulls all of the combs from all of the apiaries, sends it to the drawer controller, and then we can reconfigure these pullers right here to instead pull from the drawer controller. That is the plan. Real quick, before we do that, one thing that I have been wanting for a little while that we don't yet have is a jetpack. This is going to help us tremendously in that it's going to allow us to get up onto the top of our apiaries and up onto the top of our centrifuges without having to put ladders everywhere. It also means that if we do accidentally fall off the edge, we're not instantly going to die. And so that's where the iron jetpacks mod comes into play. It starts with a wooden jetpack, works its way all the way up to this Valdanium jetpack. And I think right now we can probably go as far as the iron jetpack. The refined glowstone jetpack here does require some mechanism machinery, which we can't make just yet because we don't have any of the parts. And so the wood jetpack, thankfully, is pretty straightforward. You need 4 planks along with 1 wooden capacitor and 2 wooden thrusters. The wooden capacitor is, you guessed it, more planks with some wooden energy cells, and these are made with iron, redstone, and wood. These don't seem too bad. I'll make quite a few of these. I'm not exactly sure of how many we need, but I know we do need more of them for the wooden thrusters. Again, similar kind of recipe, more basic coils, more wooden energy cells, and a furnace. I'll make a few of these as well. Fantastic. I'm being told by the Twitch chat it's 11 per jetpack. So real quick, let's see if we can't make 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Actually, never mind, 5 of those. That should allow me to make, hopefully, 2 of these, 1 and 2. And then that, I think, should be basically everything. There's our wooden capacitor. And the last thing is this leather strap in the middle, which is 3 leather and 2 iron nuggets. And boom, we have a jetpack. Nice. So now that we have the reactor, we can actually use this to charge our items. We no longer need to use the Tinker Station that we got in the last episode. We can simply put items here, and this is technically a jetpack. It's just pretty bad. So if I were to put this here, we can now fly. Oh no, never mind. I have to press the hotkey, which in this case is V and G. I did just press V, but that didn't seem to work. So let's see what else V is bound to. V is bound to head switch mode, to toggle engine, to cycle up mode, and to tool perk and tool abilities. So I'm going to get rid of all of those. You just click on it, press escape. And so now if I press V, it'll turn my jetpack on. And this does kind of work. It's pretty slow at climbing, and you fall very fast. On top of that, it doesn't hold much power, and so it will run out of juice pretty quickly. That is why we're going to upgrade it to the next tier. This, again, not too bad, mostly kind of more of the same. I'm going to go ahead and make like a stack of these just to make our lives a little easier in terms of crafting. We need, again, 1, and then ideally 2, 3, 4, 5 of those stone cells to get a stone capacitor, along with 2 of these stone thrusters. For that, it looks like we're missing another furnace, and for that, we're just missing some compressed cobblestone of all things. That's fine. We have what it takes to make it. Boom, 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 and boom. Nice. There's our stone thruster. Again, we just need to put that all in with the wooden jetpack in the center, and there's our stone jetpack. This can hold 5 times as much power, and it should also just be that little bit faster. It is. However, we can, of course, take this one step further if we get ourselves the iron jetpack. For that, we're going to need an advanced coil, so it probably wasn't quite worth me making a full stack of those iron coils previously. I've been told 11 is the number here, so let's see if we can't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, along with 2 of these. We're just missing, again, the furnaces. That's fine. We'll take 2 of those. That gets us 2 iron thrusters, 1 and 2, along with that capacitor we missed a second ago. And boom, we should be good for our iron jetpack. We just need to throw in the stone one. Nice. And so this goes up to 800,000 RF per tick, so it can hold 8 times as much power as the stone jetpack, which again in turn could hold 5 times as much as the wooden jetpack. And so now if I throw this in here, it's going to fill up, and it should be even faster at getting us up. It is indeed. And if you press G, you can in fact turn hover mode on, and hover mode does kind of work. You just fall somewhat quickly. So let's go ahead and find the center here, which should be right about here. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and throw down our wall of combs. In fact, I'm going to put it a little further forward. So here's my draw controller. And then around that, we're going to put all of our compacting drawers, and we're going to assign each and every one of these compacting drawers to a different honeycomb. Okay, so I've put most of the combs into the drawer here. I think I am missing 1 or 2 from each apiary, but what we want to do now is we want to get our modular router. We'll put that down right about here. We'll put just behind the draw controller, and then we should be able to set that up with a few puller modules like this to pull from these 2. So these are the previous puller modules we had over there. Now we're going to put them in here, and we're going to have them pull into this modular router. And then just as before, we just need 1 sender module so that we can send into that draw controller. We could probably also do with some stack and some speed upgrades. The speed upgrades, I feel like I made a ton of them last episode, but I guess we are once again out. That is completely fine. Let's make more of these, and let's get more of you. And I will make just a few more of these stack upgrades as well. Not that I think we need too many of them. And so let's make sure that the sender module is set to send to the back, which is here. Put that in, and then we'll do this and this. Cool. So hopefully that's going to start filling these drawers up with all of their associated combs. This also helps in finding the ones I'm missing, like steel, which I have not put in the wall yet. That's fine. Let's put steel on there, because if one is not in the wall, it's just going to back up here. Nether is currently not being produced, but it will be produced again, so I'll put that in for now. That's not currently being produced because we replaced it last episode, but I guess we'll get the nether going again in our 3rd apiary, which we do have space for. We've got drawers for that. And so this is now working. It's pulling all the combs out. We're actually getting space in here again, which is good. And so now we need to just pull from the draw controller over to this modular router here so that it can distribute those blocks down to here. For that, we just need 1 more Mark II puller module, which as per usual should be fairly straightforward here. We should have a piston. We do indeed. Let's do 1 of these and 1 of these. This time around, all we're going to do, we're going to grab a single honeycomb block. It doesn't matter what kind of block, just any honeycomb block. And in here, we're going to say whitelist, honeycomb block, and then we're going to make sure that tag matching is enabled so that items in the same tag group will get pulled. And so now if I put this in over here, it should start to pull any blocks, of course, as soon as we shift right click and specify the draw controller. And so now that draw controller, of course, has access to all of the combs in it. If I put this in here, it's going to start pulling any and all blocks of combs from there and distributing them around into the centrifuges. Nice. And that should process our combs about 3 times faster than we were processing them previously. And so now that we have that up and running, I think real quick, the last thing I want to do is I need to get uraninite sent to the reactor automatically, because right now our uraninite just sits in here, and moving it over manually is a bit of a pain. And so I think all we should really have to do, depending on range, is kind of place a modular router down like this, and then if we can get a puller module that can reach over here, we could pull from that drawer over to there and then send it in. That might be a bit too far, even with range upgrades, so we might have to add an intermediary modular router to make that work. Over here, we can just set the back to output, and we can put that in there, perfect. And then if we grab another puller module, another tier 2 puller module, that is, which of course requires yet more of everything, another blank module, and another sticky piston, boom, boom, and boom. The default range on this is 12, the maximum range is 24, so we definitely are going to need to get yet another modular router to act as an intermediary here. I think if we put that there, I might be able to do something like this and like this. Although potentially, actually, what I could do, if I get rid of that, I could potentially blacklist, no, it wouldn't really work. I was going to say I could blacklist the sending of uraninite from here over to here, and instead just have it sent over to there. But then if we ended up filling the reactor with uraninite, then this would just back up. And so I think we do want to have this in here. That's going to pull uraninite, hopefully, from over here. Let's grab that, and let's make sure this is specified. That's already out of range, which is not ideal, but I'll whitelist that. And let's see about getting a few more range add-ons to make this work. Boom, and boom, good stuff. And then from there, we'll get another puller module, and we'll do the same thing again. Again, I'm almost certain that we are going to have to get some kind of range add-ons, because I think that it's definitely more than 12 blocks between here and here. I don't know if it tells me how many blocks it is. It doesn't. But I do think it's less than 24. So let's see about getting those range augments. Cool, that is good. I put the full 12 in, so this has got the maximum number of range add-ons in it, and so now it can do 24 blocks, but this is working. Uraninite is being sent over. We could make it faster with stack and speed upgrades, but for the most part, this is going in fine. It's not really using the uraninite that fast. I just want to make sure it's kept full up so that we don't have to keep doing it manually. So now that is taken care of, and now that we have kind of our basic resource generation up and running, we can look at progressing forward with the main progression line of the mod pack. So we did get started with a little bit of astral sorcery, and the next thing we need to do here is we need to get the Starlight Infuser to allow us to make a machine frame. That machine frame is going to unlock basically the entirety of thermal expansion to us, giving us access to a lot of machinery, and it also gives us access to mechanism through blood magic. So we can go through astral sorcery to get to thermal expansion, to use blood magic to get to mechanism, and then that mechanism is also going to get us into applied energistics, which is going to be very nice indeed. It's going to give us the ability to export and import without having to use somewhat janky setups with the modular routers, and it's also going to unlock auto crafting for us, which is going to be huge for pushing into the end game eventually. But without getting too far ahead of ourselves, we need to get the Starlight Infuser, this guy right here, which again is another multi-block from Astral Sorcery, to allow us to start producing these machine frames using the pity machine frames that we made before using our pressure chamber. So right now we have one pity machine frame. We can of course make more of these using more of these waxed machine blocks. Of course, just like before, we can throw those in over here. This should still, after all this time, have enough pressure in it. It does indeed, and so that's going to very quickly produce us more pity machine frames. Now, as for the Starlight Infuser here, for this, we mostly just need a fair bit of marble with some gold, some starlight, some aquamarine, and some star metal ingots. That seems very doable. The marble we has been running this whole time, and so we do have a decent amount of marble here, which is good to see. We need specifically 20 runed marble. Let's go ahead and get 20 marble, throw it in here, make it runed. Perfect. We then need one lapis Baluli block. I think that's just a standard lapis block, but spelled differently. We'll take one of those. Fantastic. We then need 8 chiseled marble, 4 pillars, and 16 regular marble. Okay, that's 8 chiseled marble, which is this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, along with 4 pillars, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just 16 regular marble, which we have. And then, of course, the final piece of the puzzle, which is, of course, the Starlight Infuser. For this, we need 3 more ruined marble and 6 more marble pillars. That is actually completely fine. We'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more of those, and 3 more of these. And I think basically everything else we should have. We've got star metal, we'll take 1 of those. We've got aquamarine, we'll take 2 of those. We've got gold, we'll take 4 of those. And it looks like time is on our side here because night is falling, and that is perfect because we do have to craft this inside of our celestial altar. And I think the only thing we're missing here is a bucket of liquid starlight, which we should be able to take, hopefully, out of here. Nice. And so let's see if we don't have what it takes to get the starlight infuser. We do. Of course, to make this happen, we do have to get our resonating wand and give this a quick right click. This one does take a little bit of time to come through, but that should be everything. Now, in order to make this actually work, we are going to need a lot more liquid starlight to the point where it might not be a terrible idea to get a few more light wells. The light wells were just ruined marble, aquamarine, rock crystals, and chiseled marble. How many rock crystals do we have is my first question. We've got quite a few, actually. Let me take these out, and then let's grab a bunch of aquamarine. We've got basically unlimited aquamarine. Let's also grab ruined marble and chiseled marble, and we can do that over here. We can make, in theory, 5 more of these, which might not be a terrible idea. Let's get just a bunch of ruined marble, and we've got enough marble as well to make all of this happen, so we'll get some more chiseled marble. And if we wanted to, we could also definitely make more rock crystals as well. They're not particularly difficult to make. So let's do that. Let's get some chiseled marble, and then let's go see if we can't make quite a few light wells. The reason why we want so many light wells is that the way that the starlight infuser works is that we have to surround this with starlight. So you'll see there are kind of 4 lots of 3 wide gaps around this infuser. We have to fill each one of those with a bucket of starlight. So to get this started, we need 12 buckets of starlight, which is not a staggering amount of starlight, but then whenever you use it, there's also a chance that starlight is consumed as well. And so we do have to kind of have a consistent supply of starlight to make this work. And so given how cheap all of this stuff is, I feel like we might as well go ahead and get basically as many light wells as we can here, and then use our aquamarine to start filling those light wells up so that we can very quickly get to the 12 buckets of starlight needed to start converting these pity machine frames into thermal expansion machine frames. Cool. So now we have those. Let me move these. I'm going to set them up over here. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we can extract out of the bottom of these. So if we do something like this, I can throw down my 5 light wells along here. And then I'm fairly certain that I can use fluid pipes to extract out of the bottom of these light wells. So we can pull all of the liquid starlight out, and we can have it all go into this singularity tank right here. And we could potentially even look at maybe upgrading this to a higher tier tank as well, maybe even a jumbo tank at some point in the near future. For now, if I just whack this down here and we quickly grab those pipes. Another benefit of the jetpack, of course, is that it does allow us to move very quick as well. And so if we do something like this, we can set all of these to extract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can go ahead and put aquamarine into each of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nice. And so that should, hopefully, start producing liquid starlight. We might have to wait for the night to fall again because it is daytime now. But once night falls, we should hopefully see... Oh, look at that. We are getting a tiny bit trickling in here. Not as much as you'd like, and it is burning through the aquamarine faster, I think, because it's not night. One thing you can do here, if you want to fully automate this process, is I believe you can, once again, you guessed it, use modular routers to automate this. We do need another blank module and a router itself, but I believe that modular routers does have a kind of clicker, the activator module here. This one is going to allow us to click the aquamarine into the light well as if it were a player doing it, because unfortunately you can't hopper into the light well from any side. You have to click into it as if it was a player. You also can't put anything on top as well, by the way. If you put the modular router on top here, it's going to stop it working. The light well needs to be able to see the sky. But I'm fairly certain that if we place this down like this, and we put in the activator module, and we configure this to bake, it should now be able to take this aquamarine. You'll see there's not one in there currently. If I put this in, it should put it in. Nice. And so ideally, we could do with maybe like 5 of these modular routers, although I guess potentially actually what we'd prefer to do is maybe have one modular router with a bunch of light wells around it, and then just put in multiple activator modules into that one modular router to activate on all of the light wells, and then pull from there. And of course, just like what we've done with the Uranite, we could start pulling all of our aquamarine from our storage draw system around and into this modular router to keep the liquid starlight coming in. But you'll see already, this is coming in quite nicely, and it's doing pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this old mob spawning contraption, and I'm going to replace it with the new multi-block structure for the Starlight Infuser here. So we're going to basically build this multi-block structure here, but we're going to build it, I think, right about here. And I think to do that, I'm probably going to make this platform just a little bit bigger, as in I'll get rid of a few of these, and I'll kind of make a little protrusion coming out here so that we have space for this structure. Okay, so I've extended out the platform here, and if we go 1, 2, 3, I'm going to start right here. So I think the way that this is built, 'cause it's a little confusing on the picture, I think we do like a 5 by 5 ring of regular marble around like this. And then looking at the picture here, then we have 3 ruined marble like this on all of the sides. And then in from there, we have our chiseled marble. So the chiseled marble is going to go here, here, not here, sorry, here, here, and here, with this one obviously not being there. And then I'm going to put these here just so we can place the ruined marble down, but these are not part of the structure. We're going to do this, 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 and this, and then of course the same over on this side as well. Boom, boom, and boom. We can then get rid of those kind of scaffolding pieces of marble that we placed down. I think that's correct. Then we've got this center area. I believe that we have a block of lapis in the center. It's not really quite clear from the picture, but I think that's where that has to go. And then I believe we just surround that with ruined marble. I don't think there's anything in the ground beneath that. I think we just do something like this. In fact, we could have probably moved this down by one and kind of embedded it in the ground. But I think that's basically right. And then I believe we have the 4 pillars that are going to go down here, 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 and here. Then we have 4 more chiseled marble going down on top of those pillars. And then we put our starlight altar on the center. And I think that is basically that. I think that's everything down that we meant to put down. And so from there, I think all we need to do is get the 12 buckets of liquid starlight, and we need to fill those in around the starlight infuser. So each and every one of these needs to be a source block of starlight. Unfortunately, unlike water, you can't just put down 2 liquid starlight and get an unlimited starlight source. That's not how that works. And so we do have to put in specifically 12 buckets worth. But I think once that's done, we should be good to go. And there we go. That's our 12th bucket. Fun fact, you can stand in the starlight and you do get night vision if you do that. But I think that this is, I think, good to go. There's only one way to test it out, really, I think, and that's to kind of do something like this and this. Look at that. So we put the pitting machine frame in, we right-clicked it with the resonating wand, and now it's got a pretty cool animation, actually. Then it's going to produce for us, look at that, a machine frame. Cool. And so you'll see that it did use up, I think, that source block there. I don't know if it's guaranteed to use a source block. If I try this again, yeah, this is not working. I think it's kind of hard to tell which source block was used, because it looks like they're all kind of still here. I guess you can test with a bucket, because if you can't pick it up, then it's not the source block that's been taken. Oh, it's this one here. This middle one's been taken. Again, a little tricky to try and figure out, but this one I can't pick up. And so if I want to use it again, I have to take this, I have to put another bucket down here, and then I can do the same thing again. I can put you in like this, and I can right-click, and that's going to do the same craft. And so it seems like, from what people have said in the Twitch chat, approximately 1 light source is used every time, so you need like 1 bucket worth of liquid starlight to do that every single time. There is an auto starlight infuser that you can make here. I don't know how expensive that is. It's a little expensive. It's not something we can make just yet because we don't have any of the stuff required. We're kind of working on getting the machine frames, then we're working on getting the blood magic stuff to upgrade those machine frames to steel casing. I don't know if this requires nighttime in order for it to work. Thankfully, again, it took the exact same one. I don't know if that's a coincidence or if it always takes the same one. I'm not entirely certain, but we'll do this, and we'll do this. Perfect. So now that we have this available to us, we can make really as many machine frames as we like, so long as we have all of the pitting machine frames, which we should be able to make in fairly large quantities. What we need to do now, though, is we need to get ourselves into blood magic, and I guess I've done this a little awkwardly, because now that I have a full bucket, it's kind of hard to see if this one is still the one that's missing. It is. It seems to continuously use this bucket right there. Interesting. Either way, Now that we have that, let's get into some blood magic, because blood magic is what stands between us and mechanism. And so, in order to get started with blood magic, we actually have to go all the way back to the first quest line here, because there's a quest right at the top for the Soul Snare. This quest opens the blood magic quest line. The Soul Snare, thankfully, super easy to make. It's string, redstone, and iron. And the way this works is we have to throw this at a monster and then kill the monster to obtain some demonic will. So let's take our sword and let's see if we can't get some kind of monster to spawn. I feel like it shouldn't be that difficult. If I go ahead and get rid of a few torches here and just fly a little bit further away on the platform. Actually, never mind. There's some right here. Perfect. I mean, creepers are a little bit tricky, and I would prefer not to have to deal with the creepers. I don't know if you can throw it at a passive mob or not. I'm probably going to end up spawning way more mobs than I mean to over here. Never mind, not a single one. I am going to light up this area because I actually don't want mobs spawning over here. I'd prefer them to spawn where I've kind of designated them to spawn. Here we go. We have a contestant. And so if we throw the snare at the skeleton, we then want to make sure we kill the skeleton without him falling off the edge here, because he is going to drop the soul snare for us. Look at that. Nice. So that is our demon will. And so we're going to take that demon will, and I believe we can now use that to make our blood altar. So if we look at the recipe for the blood altar, which I think is the first quest in the blood magic quest line, this is made in the Starlight crafting altar with 4 blocks of steel. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 demon will, 4 blocks of redstone, which we also do have. 1, 2, 3, 4. Along with the 3 sooty marble, which we can definitely make, and 1 empty bucket. Perfect. And so that should be everything we need. If we're quick about it, I'm hopeful we can get this done before daylight breaks. Give that a quick right click with the wand. Perfect. The starlight is fading here because day is dawning, but just in time, we managed to get the blood altar. Nice. And so now, if we head on over to the blood magic quest line here, we have completed this quest. We get the Sanguine Sentium, the guidebook for blood magic, and we should now be able to get started with blood magic. And if we want to get a steel casing, we've got to work our way up through the different tiers of blood magic to the tier 3 blood altar. Right now, just this here is a tier 1 blood altar on its own. If we want to upgrade it to tier 2, we need 8 blank runes. The blank runes are made with stone, any stone, 1 weak blood orb, or any blood orb, but the weak blood orb is the first blood orb that we're going to make. There are multiple tiers of blood orb. They start weak and go all the way up to master. The weak blood orb is made by putting 1 diamond into a blood altar with 2,000 life points. And so if we take a diamond, the way that we get life points into the blood altar is via the use of the sacrificial knife, this guy right here, which thankfully, super easy to make. It needs 6 glass, 1 gold, and 1 iron. Glass, we do have just the right kind. Boom and boom. And then over here, if you right-click with the knife, it's going to put, I believe, 200 life points into the blood altar for every right-click that you do. And so we can do this multiple times, making sure, of course, not to die. And that's going to start to fill up our blood altar here with life points. Once we have enough life points, we can then put the diamond in, and that's going to allow us to get the blood orb. It's a similar case for the blank slate here. The blank slate is made by putting stone into a tier 1 blood altar with 1,000 life points. And so if we grab some stone here, we can do the exact same thing. We can continue to use the dagger. We can continue to eat the bread to refill our HP a little bit, and then we can put the items in. One thing we could do here that we've not done so far, and I have had people ask me if there's a use for liquid meat for industrial foregoing. There is a use for liquid meat, and it comes in the form of the meat feeder. This thing is actually pretty nifty. If you take the meat feeder, you can then right-click on your tank of liquid meat that you might have lying around. That's going to fill the meat feeder with liquid meat, and you'll see that it automatically feeds you food. You can even put it into the head slot in your Curios menu over here. Click this button and then pop it in there, and that's going to automatically re-feed us, which for this is actually particularly useful because we can do something like this and start giving all of our hearts away to the altar, which by default I think can hold 10,000 life points, and you'll see that automatically we're going to regenerate hearts because we still have saturation, and you'll see that saturation is actually being refilled by the meat feeder. So the meat feeder is actually quite useful here, to the point where I think it's probably also worthwhile us kind of re-engaging the mob slaughter factory, which is currently turned off, but that we should be able to re-engage if we can get power over to it. I think for now, the easiest solution is going to be to once again just throw down a magmatic dynamo right about here. Of course, we do need our crescent hammer if we're going to rotate that so that it faces towards the actual machine. Perfect. And we do have a ton of lava. I might even go so far as to kind of just move this actually. Like if we take this tank here, there's a ton of lava in here that should last quite a while. If we just put this down like this and we throw down a fluid pipe and we set that to extract, making sure, of course, that it doesn't connect ideally to that tank, we can temporarily break this because we don't want this to connect. I don't want any lava going into here. Instead, I just want lava coming out of here, going down into the dynamo, which it is. This dynamo does have an augment, which is perfect. And so, yeah, that should work. That should kill mobs that spawn in here. We can, for now, go ahead and turn this off again. Perfect. And that's going to keep getting pink slime and liquid meat for us. And we can keep coming back over and taking that liquid meat to refill our meat feeder to give us more saturation. Because you'll see we've used a lot of it. We can use it quite quickly, especially when we're burning through saturation at such a rapid speed. But over here, if we put the diamond in, it should begin to take LP out of the blood altar. You can see that line going down very slowly. And after it's taken the full 2,000 life points out, we should get ourselves a weak blood orb. And there we go. We have ourselves a weak blood orb. Nice. And so now we just need to take our stone. Specifically, we're going to need to take, I think, 8 stone so that we can make 8 of the blank runes. So I put one of these in. This should be a bit faster because it takes half as many life points as the blood orb did. And this is something you can speed up going forward. We're looking at making blank runes, but you can make a bunch of different runes that change the way the altar behaves, including a speed rune, which is going to make the altar faster. But once it's done, we get a blank slate. And so right now, we just need to do that 7 more times so that we can get 7 blank slates to make 7 blank runes. The blood orb, by the way, is not used up in the craft. It's kind of a reusable item. So you don't have to make 8 blood orbs. You just have to make the 1 blood orb. And then from there, you can use it multiple times to get all of the runes. And once we've got 8 of these blank slates back over here, that should be everything for 8 blank runes. Nice. And so now all we need to do here is we're going to pick up the blood altar and we're going to move it up by 1. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Of course, this is not going to be the final resting place of this blood altar. We need to set up a new platform for it. But if we go ahead and do something like this and like this, this is now a tier 2 blood altar. So it's kind of hard to see currently. However, if we get a divination sigil, this is going to allow us to see how many life points are inside the altar and what tier the altar currently is. To make this, we have to use this alchemy array, which requires some arcane ashes. The arcane ashes are made inside of an alchemy table. The alchemy table does require 1 more blank slate. That is completely fine. If we do a quick 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, we should be able to put this in, and that should be just the right amount of life points to get us a blank rune. And once we have that rune, we can then go ahead and craft up that alchemy table. Perfect. And so for now, we'll whack this down right about here. Again, temporary positioning, but we should be able to use this in order to make the arcane ashes. For that, we need 1 coal, 1 redstone, 1 white dye, and 1 gunpowder. I think we have all of the stuff to make that. Let me put some of this marble and other junk back in my system. So 1 redstone, 1 coal, 1 gunpowder, and 1 white dye, which in our case is just 1 bone meal. Crafted down. Nice. And then we do, of course, need our blood orb, which is in the system. So over here, we're going to put in all of the items and our blood orb, and it's going to say soul network error, insufficient life points in the soul network, or blood orb is not bound. So we need to bind the blood orb to us with a right click, and then the blood orb can store life points into your blood network, which is kind of like this nebulous tank that is somewhere in the ether that holds life points for us. And basically, every time you right click, you put the same 200 millibuckets into your blood network. And once you have enough in your blood network, you can then use some of those life points to complete these crafts. Specifically for this craft, it should tell us in here how many life points we need. We need 500 life points. So, 2.5 clicks worth. And it's going to take 200 ticks, but we get the arcane ashes. Nice. And so now that we have the arcane ashes, we can use a redstone and another blank slate to make our divination sigil. So let's take 1 more stone. Let's do another 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That should be 1,000 life points. We'll put that in. That is once again going to get us another blank slate. And then on the floor, we want to right click with the arcane ashes. That's going to put down this circle with a triangle in it. We're then going to right click with the redstone. So redstone, blank slate. That's going to trigger this pretty cool animation here. And once this is done, we should get a divination sigil. Nice, look at that. And now, if we right-click in the air, it tells us how many life points are in our network. So if I right-click with this, it's going to go up by 200. And if I right-click on the blood altar, it's going to tell us that the current tier is tier 2. The current essence is 820, so there's 820 life points in here. And the current capacity is 10,000. Again, if I do one of these nearby, so if I right-click with the dagger, not with the orb nearby, that's going to put 200 life points into the blood altar, taking us up to 1020. And so now we can move up to tier 3. For tier 3, we need 20 blank runes and 4 glowstone blocks. The glowstone, I don't think we have, right? Do we have a glowstone? We do have glowstone. We must have had a glowstone B that I completely forgot about. So there's 4 glowstone. Perfect. I didn't need to craft it like that. We already have it, of course. But that's the glowstone we need. So we just need 20 more blank runes. As I mentioned a second ago, we can get a myriad of different runes that we can use to upgrade the altar. Some of the best ones for us right now include speed, which will just make the crafts happen faster. There's also the rune of self-sacrifice. This one here, a little bit more expensive, but this is going to increase the amount of life points that you get for every time you use the dagger. And then going forward, we might also need the rune of capacity, which increases the capacity of the blood altar to more than 10,000 life points. For now, though, I think the speed runes might not be a terrible idea. And so let me grab some more stone here. If we wanted to make 4 speed runes, we would need 8 blank slates and 8 blank runes. Of course, we already have the blank runes. And so we would just need to get 8 more blank slates here, which really shouldn't be too difficult for us. So I've got 2 blank slates here. We can go ahead and right away we can upgrade this. One thing to bear in mind, with a tier 2 altar, you can only put a maximum of 4 runes in, and they do have to go in a specific place. If we check the Sanguine Centium here, it's a little awkward, but if we go to Blood Altar, the Blood Altar, and then we go to the tier 2, you'll see here that you can only put upgrade runes in the 4 runes that are kind of in the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, around the altar. It's not until tier 3 where you can start putting the runes basically anywhere that you like. And so for this one, we're going to have to put our runes here, 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 and here. But even with this 1 speed rune, it should now be a little bit faster in terms of transforming this stone into a slate. And you do have to be careful here because once you've upgraded to a tier 2 altar, you can kind of go too far in that as soon as you get a tier 1 slate or a blank slate, the altar will automatically start trying to upgrade that to the reinforced slate, because you can see that to make a reinforced slate, it's a blank slate with 2,000 life points in a tier 2 altar. So you do want to make sure you take that out as soon as it transforms. Again, you can automate this with the modular router. It's also one of those situations where the regulator augment would come in quite handy as well. You can put multiple pieces of stone in at once, especially if you hopper or pipe them in, but it will use a lot more life points and it's a lot harder to control. So I find using a regulator augment to kind of regulate the amount that goes in, so 1 item goes in and 1 item comes out, to be much more useful, much more beneficial, I should say. And so this here is going to be our 4th blank rune. I do have to be careful because we have completely run out of liquid meat, which I do need to go and rectify. But this is going to be enough to do 2 more of these runes here. We'll take you and we'll take you. Thankfully, breaking these does not empty out your blood altar. It's only if you break the top actual blood altar block that actually becomes a problem. Boom and boom. And then let's also go ahead and see if we can't fill up our meat feeder a little bit more over here. We can. Look at that. And it fills up our saturation so well. This is also one of those situations where it is very much so worth having eaten all of the rogue combs as well. Because if you've eaten all of the combs, which I have not done with all these, I should definitely start eating more of them, you get more hearts, and having more hearts just makes it so much easier to click a ton on the blood altar and get a lot of life points into here. And so what I'll do here, I'll get 2 more of these blank runes to take us to a full 4 speed upgrades. And then once we have those 4 speed upgrades, at that point, we can start looking at trying to get the 20 blank runes required for the tier 3 altar. And I think instead of kind of just sitting around to micromanage that, it is going to be well worth our time to automate that using these modular routers. So we have 2 here. Let's put 1 down like this. We'll put 1 down like this. And then just like we did before, we should be able to get 1 sender module. That sender module is going to have the regulator augment in it. Let me go ahead and get the regulator augment. That regulator augment is going to limit us to only being able to put 1 stone in at a time, which is exactly what we like. So we'll take you. In here, we're going to say send to the right, and we're going to say regulator augment 1. Perfect. So if I put that in here and I put my stone in, it's going to put 1 stone in. Over on this side, I guess I can actually do this now, because over on this side, I then want to get a puller module. And I might end up wasting some stuff here if I'm not careful, because I think I'm going to be slower than that blood altar is. I am indeed. We're going to take the puller module, and we're going to say to the puller module that you need to pull this whitelist. And we'll put that in there, and we'll also go ahead and say pull from the left. At that point, we probably want to get, you guessed it, speed upgrades into here to make this just that little bit faster so that we reduce the amount of life points that are wasted, specifically on the puller module here. It doesn't really matter so much on the sender, but we might as well do it on both. And then from there, we need to make sure that we're always putting life points in so that there are enough life points in there for the transition to take place. And yeah, we are specifically now looking to get 20 blank runes. We're specifically looking to make 20 blank slates. Once we have 20 blank slates, we can make those 20 blank runes fairly easily. And then we should be able to just go ahead and make the tier 3 altar. All right, so we're on to the final piece of stone here. You'll see in the top left there, the number is counting down. If you do hold the divination sigil, it does tell you. And there we go. That is 20 blank slates. Nice. So now back over here, let's go ahead and get some blank runes. Let's do this, and let's do this, and boom. Nice. So now we can go ahead and we can build this. So again, what I'll do between streams is I'll probably build a new platform, like a designated area for the tier 3 altar. What I'm going to do for now, because we don't have that designated space, is I'm going to go ahead and build this up on top of the B apartment complex here. So looking again at the Sanguine Centium, we can see that this is the structure. And in fact, if we go ahead and put a few blocks down here, we can visualize this. If we click the little I button, we can then go and right click here. And that's actually perfect. Good. So I'm going to get rid of those stone blocks, of course. That's not what we needed. We just needed somewhere to right-click on so that we can actually place the visualization down. But now we want to place down the 20 new runes around the outside, like this. We then want to place the middle runes in the middle, you guessed it, like this. And we do want to place our speed runes down somewhere. Now that we've upgraded, we can put these anywhere. For symmetry's sake, I'm not just going to put them down haphazardly. I will go ahead and put them down. Let's say here, 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 and here, like this. And then we'll go ahead, of course, and fill in the remaining gaps I do seem to be missing. One blank rune. And I have a feeling that's because I dropped one somewhere. We'll come back to that in just a second. We then need to put down some blocks here. I don't think these have to be stone bricks. It does show stone bricks, but I feel like you can use any block you like on the corners here, although I could be wrong on that. And then all we have to do is put the glowstone on top of the stone brick. So the glowstone goes here. It goes here. Oops, not there, obviously. It goes here. It also goes here and here. Nice. And so now it's just a case of finding that that last blank rune that I seem to have lost. Oh, and of course, we do have to put down the final piece of the puzzle, which is the altar, like that. It's over here. There we go. Okay, cool. I thought I had one. Let's put that down like so, and that is now complete. And so now, if we wanted to make a steel casing, we need 20,000 life points in a tier 3 altar. And that's where those runes of capacity come into play, because whilst we do have a capacity of 10,000 in this altar, and if we wanted to, we could kind of just spam the knife and try and keep it filled up. I don't think that's a great solution. Instead, I think the rune of capacity is almost certainly the way we want to go. For this, we do need blank runes, of course, with buckets, stone, and then imbued slates. The imbued slate here is a tier 3 slate, so it's a stone that is transformed into a blank slate, then into a reinforced slate, then into an imbued slate. So it does require quite a lot of life points, 5,000 for this, 2,000 for this, and 1,000 for this. So 8,000 life points in total for each rune of capacity that we make, and I'm fairly certain that each rune of capacity adds, I want to say 1,000 life points to the capacity. We can figure that out in the Sanguine Centium. If we go back to the beginning and we type in capacity, the rune of capacity adds 20%. That's my bad. It's an additive 20% per rune. The default is 10,000. 20% of 10,000 is actually 2,000. And so every capacity rune that we add will add 2,000 life points to the blood altar. Note that it says additive there, not multiplicative. So you add the first one, you go from 10,000 to 12,000. The second one doesn't give you 20% of 12,000. It gives you an additive, so it gives you 20% of the initial 10,000. So each one of these gives us 2,000 in total. And so if we wanted to be able to get the full 20,000 life points in here ahead of time, we would have to get 5 of these runes of capacity so that we could then hold 20,000 life points in the blood altar to be able to do this craft in one fell swoop. And then from there, we can actually look at getting started with either Mechanism or Applied Energistics 2. Both of those mods do then open up to us, and the next stage in this chain is going from Mechanism to RF Tools via the use of the Metallurgic Infuser. And then from there, it looks like we can use that to make the auto Starlight Infuser, which could be quite useful for automating that guy over there if we did want to get machine frames. And yeah, from there we can move on to kind of the end game once we've got all of that fleshed out with Draconic Evolution and the extended crafting. But there's still a lot of work to do in the Blood Magic, Thermal Expansion, and Mechanism questlines. This was kind of just like a brief skim through of the start of all three of those, but we do now have the ability to get machines from Thermal Expansion. We have the ability to get quite a lot of stuff from Astral Sorcery. We have the ability to start kind of working towards getting into Mechanism in the next episode, and one of my main goals for the not-so-distant future is going to be to try and get into Applied Energistics as well, because this is going to give us a much more powerful digital storage system than the storage request table that we have. Real quick here, before we wrap up this stream, how are we doing on combs? It looks like we're actually fully out, which is very nice to see. It looks like we've kind of burned through all of the combs that we had backlogged, and we're also keeping up with all the new combs as well, because we actually have space inside of our centrifuge here, which just goes to show how much more beneficial it is to have the blocks being processed as opposed to the combs. People are asking in the Twitch chat about the rune of augmented capacity, which is this one here. This one adds a multiplicative 7.5%. So unlike the previous rune that gives you 2,000 every time you edit, this one does multiply. And so the more capacity in the altar before you add this, the more you get. And so there does come a time where it's better to have the runes of augmented capacity versus the runes of regular capacity, but not for us just yet. Right now, if we wanted to add a rune of augmented capacity, not only are these more expensive, they require the first rune of capacity and they require a tier 4 demonic slate, but initially, this only adds 7.5%. And so for us, 7.5% is only 750 life points. So if we were to put one of these into this altar with no prior upgrades, it wouldn't be worth it. It's only once you get over 26,000 life points, so it's only once you get to like 28,000 life points, that it's worth starting to use the runes of augmented capacity over the runes of capacity, if that makes sense. That's a little bit in the weeds for what we need currently. That's not something we're going to have to worry about until a fair bit down into the future. But essentially, the first 8 runes that you put in to affect your capacity should all be runes of capacity. Once you've got 8 runes of regular capacity in, after that, it's worth using runes of augmented capacity, because at that point, these do add more than the runes of regular capacity, and the capacity that you gain gets bigger faster because it multiplies as you get larger. Again, that's kind of getting in the weeds. That's not something that we have to worry about. Somebody in the Twitch chat just asked about it, but I think that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Sky Bees 2.